Hey, Simon here from Pickleball, and in previous videos, I've talked about the importance of selling packages, selling transformation, selling high ticket. And I learned about this over 10 years ago. It's made me a lot of money, but it took a process. It took a lot of me understanding the mindset of it. And so I actually put together a full training, which I give to my clients, called the Conscious Enrollment Formula, which is actually in the Pickleball Mastermind. So with this video, I'm giving you the full first module, which is all around mindset. So this is really going to help you if you want to up your sales skills when it comes to selling higher ticket pickleball packages. Enjoy the training, and if you want, as I've mentioned, the full other 5 hours, head to the Pickleball Mastermind. I'll see you again. Okay, guys, welcome to the Conscious Enrollment Formula. And this is about easily offering your services and charging what you're worth without hard closing. Okay, so a big reason for me putting together this training was that I wanted to evolve how enrollment is done in the marketplace. And so what you're going to learn over the next 6 weeks or 6 sessions alongside myself and Mark here, who will be jumping into this training too and sharing his wisdom. We're going to be going over ultimate mindset and calm confidence in session 1 today. We're also going to be going over money beliefs, etc. In this session. Very, very key. Also, session 2 is going to be the conscious enrollment formula. Session 3, authentic objection handling. Session 4, quantum leap optimization. Session 5, the big mistakes to avoid. And in session 6, conscious team growth. So when you're ready to step away from doing sales on your own and bring in a team, that is going to be really useful for you. Okay. So session 1, ultimate mindset. Now you'll notice here that I've put set in brackets, and I'll explain why in a second. So ultimate mindset and calm confidence. In our business, what we want to do is we want to operate from a place of calm confidence, which is when we operate a business, not from fear, not from scarcity, not from a lack of self-worth, but from a true place of calm confidence, which comes from actually working on ourselves. The reason why I put mindset here is that we all have a place where our mind is set, right? We all have a place where we react in certain ways. We have a place in our life where, for example, we forgive maybe a little faster than other people. And that comes from our own self-awareness and our own personal growth. And so this session is absolutely critical, because if we fail, if we have strategy and we have a process, but we don't have the mindset to support it, then what will happen is we will sabotage and we won't get the growth that we want. And so we always, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we always want to be developing our mindset to the place where it is set, right? And we want to go deeper into calm confidence so that we handle situations at the next stage of our business with more grace, with more peace, with more understanding, right? And that's about conscious business, okay? So what are the differences between conscious enrollment and other sales strategies? Well, okay, when we have other sales strategies taught by those who are more unconscious, what happens is we sell people who are actually not the right fit for our programs, because we want to hit targets. And it's easy to say, well, I don't do that. But if the ego and mind is overactive and you have a sales target and you have someone on the phone, look, let's just be brutally honest, okay? I've done it. Other people have done it. You end up taking on people because there's a little voice during the conversation that tells you something different from what actually should be done, okay? And that's mind and heart coherence, which is what I'll talk about later, okay? So the first thing is just to admit what we've been through in our own evolution and where we want to go to, okay? There's also pressure-based sales, okay? Squeezing every penny from a client, for example. There's over-promising and under-delivering. Now, when it comes to more conscious enrollment, we're doing what is right based on integrity, which is based on our heart, right? It's heart-based enrollment, integrity-based enrollment, having full transparency about what is going to happen in a program and setting expectations for a client, okay? Easy flowing, natural conversations where you don't feel like, you know, it feels off and it feels a bit wrong and it feels a bit like, I don't even know what I'm doing, right? And so we want to be able to go into a place personally where we can have those conversations where you are magnetic to the ideal clients that you want to take on in your consulting, in your coaching, whatever you do, whatever products you're selling. Mark, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, this has just been a change for me. I've hinted to this on the last few calls some of you have been on, but I used to be desperate and money. And although at the time I kind of believed that it was the right thing to do because I had debt, but it just ended up costing me a lot more energy and confidence, because if I don't get the right people in, they don't get results. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's a drain, and I'm pulled off from focusing on what I want to do on the clients that are taking action, that are getting results. So yeah, it's been a game changer for me to kind of move into this part where I'm just cancelling calls or I'm cutting calls. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but at the moment, if someone's not a fit, I will just tell them. Simple as that. And that's from shifting my mindset.
And guys, there's lots of different beliefs around what consciousness means. But in my understanding and what I believe, it's about having the self-awareness to do the right thing, in particular when it comes to sales. Okay, so let's get you enrolling ideal clients consistently and also make it fun. Okay, we want business to be fun. We want it to be playful. We want it to be enjoyable. Okay, so you're going to be able to start generating business and charge what you're worth. I'll explain that a little bit later. No more hard selling and manipulation closing. I'm not saying that anyone is doing that on the training, but that's what we want to move away from if we have an overactive mind. Work only with clients that are the right fit. Why? Because it gives you more energy, right? When you actually take on the clients, which are ideal clients, it's all about who they are as people and they move forward. I call it lighting the match. Mark has been someone who I've mentored for a long time now, and I love working with Mark. Why? Because when I give him something to do, it's like lighting the match and he's off like a rocket. Right? You want to work with clients that are the right fit. And so you've got to understand energy and how energy works. And you will be very in tune with this by the end of this training, because I'm going to be hammering stuff home. Okay. Feel calm and confident in high energy conversations, right? When there's high energy conversations, there's high desire. And when it's high desire, that's when people are going to enroll in your program. So you've got to understand yourself. You've got to understand energy and how it works. And start enrolling your first clients with a new process that feels good to you, and it's in alignment with what feels right to you. Okay. Now, understand also that this process, the conscious enrollment formula, is an adaptable process. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of other trainings, what they'll do is you have to stick to this, right? You have to stick to the script. Okay. You have to stick to this way. But what happens is that sometimes a part of that process feels off. So this is an adaptable process. Why? Because we're always evolving and we're always growing. So if something doesn't feel right to you, notice in your body that piece of it, okay? Because that is your body is a signal that you should do something or not do something. You either feel light or you feel heavy. You either feel this feels congruent or this doesn't feel congruent with my values, okay? So why this training? Consumers are repelled by pressure tactics, okay? You may have found other strategies that just fell off. You may lack confidence in asking for an investment. Okay, maybe you like to talk to people, but when it comes to that point of actually asking to be paid, you struggle. Okay, we're gonna deal with that. And also, you want to gain a true connection with clients, with people that come into your ecosystem, right? People who come to you, and we've got to understand that everyone's in a different mindset and also at a different stage of business. And sometimes people will want to enroll straight away, and sometimes people will need to enroll in a year's time when their circumstances have changed. But if we go and pressure someone to do something because we want it now, what you're going to do is you're going to create this energy, and then actually people won't come back to you. So we want to trust and we want to let go in this process. And also you're ready to evolve yourself, because that's what myself and Mark are about, is evolving as individuals so that the business can grow. And you want to create freedom in your life. It's very important for you to determine what is freedom for you. Okay. And this is important. Okay. This is probably the most important thing to understand when it comes to sales. Okay. When it comes to conscious selling, there's a concept called spiral dynamics. As we move through life, okay, we move through different levels of consciousness and self-awareness, right? So you can see here at this level of, for example, purple, there's a protection, it's survival, right? It's about, support and guidance. And then we start to grow as individuals, and dependent on our environment, dependent on the consciousness of our mentors, the consciousness of our guides and our coaches and the people around us, we're going to stay within these levels, or we're going to start to ascend. But also understand that, for example, in a relationship, in a personal relationship, you may drop down a level and you may ascend in a level. But we have what's called a natural home of where we sit. So what happens is, in orange, this is where a lot of entrepreneurs sit, which is basically being in this level of achievement, right? However, what can happen is, if the ego is very active, it can all be about self, which is, what can I get? How can I get the things for material gain so that I can live the life that I want? And actually, we say that it's about other people, but it's not truly about other people, because the ego, the mind, it wants to fulfill its needs and basically do what's right for the individual. Then as we move through different levels of consciousness, we move through green, then we move up to yellow. So for example, yellow would be someone like Oprah, who is a billionaire, but she's also got this deep mission, okay, and is giving back in a much bigger way through charitable work and all of these other things. So just understand that understanding where we live in this spiral dynamics concept is very important for us. And then later on, I'm going to talk to you about how it applies to the people that you take on. Because the truth be told, when you speak to an individual on the phone or interact with them when they send you a Facebook message, you are also dealing with a level of consciousness. Where are they in their level of self-awareness? Where are they with their own level of integrity? Where are they in their own attitude towards investing? Where are they in their own level of action that's based upon them living in fear or living in courage, right? Have you ever taken on a client that just moves as soon as you give them something, and even when something doesn't go right, they will still communicate with you honestly, openly, and authentically? Well, you're dealing with someone at a certain level of consciousness. Now, if fear is a driver, right, and fear is moving someone forward, that's not sustainable. You can do it in a short period of time, but ultimately people are going to end up crashing and burning. So start to think about learning more about spiral dynamics, and we'll touch on a lot more about that during the training also. So when the ego and the personality cells, okay, what happens is you get ego-led desire, which is competition, right? You'll hear this a lot in marketing: throw rocks at the competition. I'm going to compete with somebody else, right? I need to do this. I need to beat somebody else. And that is one of the things that holds a lot of entrepreneurs back and business owners, is this impatience, which is an energy, compulsiveness, which is an energy, competition, which is an energy. And when you have a sales target, for example, I've got to hit this sales target. Imagine if you're $2,000 away from a sales target. Okay. And then you've got, it's the last day of the month and you need to hit that target. And then someone comes into your business and it's like, okay, well, this individual comes in, they're not actually a fit, but you have a sales target to meet. Well, if that desire is more on the sales target than it is on the individual, what the ego and personality will do is it will want to hit the target more than actually serve the client or the customer. And so when the ego and the personality is dominant, what will happen is you will take on the wrong clients. And then that is when your gut knew that you shouldn't have done it, but you did it anyway. And so that's not a judgment. We've all done it. Okay. But that is an indicator of when the heart said no, but the ego said yes. The heart said no. Integrity said no. Just like you have different situations in life where you get this calling to do something right, but then something comes in secondary to sabotage it. Okay, we've got to notice the difference between the heart and integrity and the mind and the ego when it's trying to win, when it's trying to compete. Okay, when the heart enrolls, which is integrity, right? It's about having a purpose to serve. When you let go of that egoic need. Okay, enrollment based on a conscious match. Okay. Think about dating, right? And when you first started to date, or you are dating, right? You have what the ego wants, which is maybe what it sees, versus soul connection, all right? And heart-based connection based on values, right? And so you've got to look at when a client is aligned with values. And then what's going to happen is you get referrals. When you actually, when the ego and the personality cells, where you may get a sale, what will happen is you'll get negative consequences after that, which are things like refunds, clients which will then do chargebacks, clients who basically say that it's a scam, clients who take you to court even though you help them. And that all came from not doing this piece, which is integrity selling. Mark.
Can I just add to that? That's a real practical issue in 2020 because Stripe, some of you will be in groups where you see people saying, I've had my Motion account shut down, or someone is posting this. I've never had any of this happen. I've never even had a chargeback in the whole time that I have run the business. And it's a real issue these days with Stripe because Stripe is the main processor, and it's very difficult to get a processor outside of Stripe. And if you get a certain number of chargebacks, a certain percentage, they will shut you down. You'll be gone because they've become a lot more risk averse with lots of people jumping on the internet. And when someone's pasting, I've never experienced this, but if someone's pasting and bad-mouthing you in a group, that is ultimately a result. I've seen this happen. It's a result of it enrolling the wrong clients. So I think it's really important big shift for me was just to really focus on, and I've mentioned this a few times on the calls that you've seen, focus on qualifying and finding that right client as opposed trying to close. I mean, I get closing, enrolling and all that. Obviously it has to be the end outcome, but it's the perspective of it. You don't want to have your account shut down. You don't want to get put on what's called the match list, which is when you can't get a Motion account. And you don't want to have issues with people bad-mouthing you. And that comes from and the energy and the worry, and it just all comes from enrolling the wrong people. Simple as that.
Also, it's important to understand that certain industries have a certain level of consciousness, right? You work in some industries and the default level of consciousness is different from others. So you've got to be aware of that, okay?
Yes, true.
Your thoughts create your outcome, okay? Why is your mindset important, okay? And the energy that you give off is absolutely key. And also you understanding the energy that somebody else gives off, right? It's very subtle, but if you're not in the space to know how to receive that energy and understand that energy, you won't know whether that client is an ideal client, or that client is going to turn out to actually basically could go into complete sabotage of your business. And all it takes is one person to say something or go on a mission against you, and you can cause yourself a lot of challenges. Okay, so what we want to try and do is reduce the chances of that happening. Okay, also where your focus goes, energy flows. That's not my quote. I think that's a Tony quote. And how you manage yourself under pressure, right? As we move up into the next stage of business, okay, I've worked with Mark for a long time now, and he's obviously gone through different challenges in his business, and my job is to help him perform at a high level so that he can handle the next stage of his business. Because there's always this thing that I share, which is if I gave you the business that you want and the money that you truly wanted to make at the top level, would you be able to handle that emotionally? And for the most people, the answer is no, because they're not ready yet. Okay, so emotional intelligence and high performance is not just key for action, but it's also key for reaction. Okay, how we react to certain situations. And if, for example, if you're short on money, okay, then that will create a pressure for you to make some potentially negative decisions. Okay, and also we're going to be talking about how to get yourself out of a sales slump or enrollment.
Critical.
Very, very key. But yeah, because it's not that, guys, it's not that you're going to get knocked down, because that's going to happen to everybody. It's how fast you get up again. That's the key. Okay, it's how fast you move back into action when you're emotionally hit with something that you do not expect. Okay, so every thought that you have creates a belief system, right? So if you think to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, that creates a belief, and then that becomes who you are. So just understand that you are in control of actually rewiring this. Okay, so if you think to yourself, I'm confident, I'm great at enrolling, I'm a badass in business, I love helping people, but also I'm just a great person, and that's who you're going to become. And so I'm rewiring myself all the time. Why? Because sometimes I get blindsided by something, and I get hit, right? I get knocked down, I come back up, but then I realize also, if I don't want to get knocked down like that again, I'm going to need to change who I am and who I'm being. And being is very key, because who you're being is also presence. And presence is very important when it comes to sales and enrollment. Because if you're not present, you can't listen. And if you don't listen, you're not going to understand someone. So it's very important that we move forward and actually just continue to optimize and master this. And this is, guys, this is more advanced than what most people are talking about, because we're talking about consciousness. Also understand this, which is we all have a financial thermostat setting. I want Mark to talk on this a little bit, because we've all experienced it. But have you ever, and you may be going through this now, but you've been on the same kind of income for a certain period of time, and it doesn't seem to be moving forward. Well, what happens is that you get caught within this financial thermostat, and that comes from your own deep subconscious level of belief on what you're worth. And so what we need to do is actually stretch beyond that. And that may be uncomfortable for some of you. Why? Because you may not feel that you're worth it, or you may fear failure, or you may, for example, want to make some money beyond what you're currently making and increase your revenue by 5 or 10,000 or 100,000 a month. Or I don't know where you guys are at, but understand that what stops us is fear, right? What stops us moving forward is worrying what people think. What stops us moving forward is a deep-rooted belief. For example, let's just say, so I used to work with personal trainers a lot. Let's just say you've got a personal trainer who works in a gym, and they have a financial thermostat, and it's the same every single month, right? So they're self-employed, but they're generating revenue. They say that they want to get to the next level, but the truth is they stay on the same income. But what then happens is 2 clients leave for whatever reason, and then that trainer then moves into action to get the income back up so that they can pay their rent. So if we look at it from that perspective, what we've got to notice is the energy that's required to then replace those clients. Well, that energy needs to be moved into shifting up to the next stage, right? So if you're at 5K a month, you want to get to 10 grand a month, that's going to take you becoming a different person with a different set of beliefs to move up into that next level. It's not just strategy, right? It's the coherence between the strategy and you as an individual and your subconscious beliefs. Mark.
Yeah, so I was stuck at about 25,000 debt. It's US. I don't know what that is in GBP. Probably for about a year. I couldn't get above it. I just couldn't get in action. The only way I get in action is if I went below this point where something wasn't coming in. I went going, oh, got to work at this, got to work at this, got to work at this. And the only way I was able to get past that, well, first of all, I accidentally went up to 40 because I had a bad month, and I wasn't shifting any of it. I wasn't shifting the debt. It was just, no matter how much work I did, I would just keep on the same amount. And it was really frustrating. I worked myself to the point where I was getting sick, where I was going through sales slumps. People were saying no on calls. And then I realized I was starting to get sick with much more frequency than I should. I was pushing my body, And I didn't used to believe in any of this stuff. I just thought, oh no, I've got a daughter, I've got a son, I'm sick all the time. It's not the case. I was just exhausting myself and burning out. I ultimately had to make the change. And now I've cleared all of that. Months are going beyond where I could ever imagine. That's ultimately because I made the change of who I was. Jeff, who's on this call, knows the mark of, would it be May 2017, Jeff? I think. May 2017, myself and Jeff Susi were in a mastermind. And it's fair to say myself and Jeff are 2 completely different people to when we knew each other then. And we're both having 2016, going back all that way. Crazy. So we've both evolved and changed. So I know this can sometimes be, I come from a background where I've never spoken about this before. My mum and dad didn't really push upon me personal development. It was really, I get in trouble if there was a blockbuster video overdue. This is the late 90s, over 2000s, and that's like £3, like £6 in today's money. So I'd never been taught any of this, and I really had to work to change this. And it was only when I really started believing in this stuff that my business started shifting. That makes sense? That's it from mine, And Jeff will have seen this evolution,
So one thing to mention, which is, when I was running Fitpreneurs, I remember I went from 60,000 a month to 100,000 a month in the space of 1 month, and it didn't come from a different strategy. It came from me removing a fear. And the fear that I had, that when I removed that fear, it created energy. So I want to repeat this again because it's absolutely fundamental. 60,000 a month, moved to 100,000 a month in the space of 1 month, a 1 month jump, because I removed a fear, and that removing that fear opened up energy for me to move into conscious action. And that fear was the worry of what other people thought of me. Okay. And so when I removed that fear, freed up energy for action. Okay. And that's like being in a boat. Okay. And going downstream versus jumping out of the boat and trying to go upstream, paddling against the ocean. Okay. So we gotta get into the slipstream and make sure that we're in alignment. Okay. And some of these terms and things you guys may resonate with or may not, but we'll be wiring those in a little bit later on to make sure that you fully understand it. Okay. So when there is a desire for growth, but when there is a desire for growth, there can also be subconscious self-sabotage. Okay. So what is your belief about money? This is key. Okay. What is your belief about money? All right. So you may have negative associations to sales. For example, you may think that it's sleazy, right? Or it's a scam, or it's bad, or not, it's not helping people, or it's being pushy, or it's wrong, or, you know, it's things are expensive, or people don't have money, or, you know, any number of these things. Okay. So what do we need to have in terms of positive associations to enrollment? All right. What if you thought that enrollment was fun, right? What if you thought that what you have is valuable? What if you thought that, you know, you were always going to have great conversations, even if that person wasn't a fit? Okay. One of the things I used to do a lot was really judge the forms that came in, right? And the applications that came in. And actually some of those conversations turned out to be amazing conversations, and ideal clients did enroll from those. Why? Because sometimes people can fill in an application and not actually speak their truth sometimes. So depending on how many applications you have coming in, will determine whether you actually jump on the call with everybody, or if you have a lot of applications, you can be more selective. So also you've got to understand your childhood family money stress. What conversations, what did you hear as a child about money, right? Was it about there's a lack of it and therefore there are arguments? Therefore, subconsciously you started to think, oh my God, this money thing is just stressful. Like it's bad. It brings people down. Okay, because we need to start to shift the energy of the past events that we've experienced in order to move forward. And that's actually just personal growth, right? It's actually becoming the change that we want to see for the people that we impact moving forward. Because if we have a certain belief around money, okay, and then we pass that on to someone else, then they're going to have the same challenges that we have. And that's very important when it comes to children, right? And their key developmental ages. You know, I was bullied at the age of, 7, and then had a very severe bullying event that happened at 13. And then I, for example, guys didn't feel safe to me and people didn't feel safe to me, and I isolated myself. Well, I had to change that. I had to rewire that. And then trauma affects addiction, and then I'm addicted. And then because of that, it affects my business. And so understanding yourself and having self-awareness of self is fundamental to not just a business, but to all areas, and especially when it comes to money and finances and charging what you're worth, right? Charging what your self-worth, right? Think about that. Charge what you're worth. Charge what your self-worth is, okay? So what we want to do as individuals is become the catalyst of change, right? If grandparents pass something down to parents, and then there's you, right? And then you are in this space of this understanding and this consciousness, or these beliefs around something, money, relationships, right? Then that is going to impact people moving forward. So you want to become the catalyst of change so that you can pass that on to other people. And this is in every area, right? If you're an angry person, you're going to pass that anger onto the people that you're around. Why? Because we have an aura and we transfer energy. You know, when you work with a mentor or a coach, it's not just what they say and the strategy that they give you, but there's an energy transference of consciousness. And so that's why I've always said that it's very important who you pick and who you choose in terms of your mentors and coaches and guides, because you are essentially picking up from their energy. You will start to say the similar things to them. You will start to act in a similar way. You will start to pick up on their beliefs around sales, right? And if you're at a certain level of consciousness, and then you learn from someone about sales who's at a different level of consciousness, of course the strategy is going to feel off to you because it doesn't feel congruent with who you are, because maybe you're more evolved in certain areas. Okay, so very, very key. So with a pen and paper ready, I just want you to notice what comes up. And I use this 0.5 second rule here. So don't overthink this when these questions come up. But I just want you to write down your answer, or just notice what comes up straight away when I ask these questions for you, okay? So it's not the second thing that comes up, it's the first thing, okay? Money is blank. Write it down. Money is what? Money creates what? Money creates. Someone with a lot of money is blank. Ooh, I can just imagine what some of the things have come up here. Someone with a lot of money is, okay, write down whatever came up for you. And I do this with a lot of my high-performing clients, which is, it's called, in a different respect, it's called, we have KPIs in business, and then we have KEIs, I call them, key emotional indicators, right? So we've got to notice what triggers us, right? And so this is key when we ask certain questions to notice, okay, wow, this is in my awareness, right? So your beliefs around money, write down your beliefs around money now in your business, okay? And write down what your beliefs around money need to be to get to the next level, wherever you're at. If you're great at sales right now and you're making a lot of money per month and you're impacting a lot of people, great. What would need to be your belief around money and enrollment to get to that next level? Okay. And why? So what are your dominating thoughts? Okay. Are your dominating thoughts? They will say no. Do you go into a conversation thinking that they're going to say no, or you're going to have a bad conversation, and then you start to manifest exactly what you thought? Because when you have that thought, it creates an energy within you, and then you bring that energy into the conversation. That's why most people really struggle when it comes to enrollment, because they go into the conversation with the wrong thought, and then they end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. So they'll say no. So then when you wire in that enough times, then you're going to have the belief that I'm not good at sales, right? And then you create an identity for yourself. Okay. Do you have thoughts like other people are better than me, or I feel like a fraud, right? People think I'm rubbish, or what if I fail? Or I need to wait until blank, right? I'm not as qualified as. All of these are normal, guys, but we need to also be aware of them. We've got to start, you know, anytime you feel stressed, anytime you feel anxious, anytime you feel worry, I want you to write down the thought that you're thinking, because the thought that you're thinking is creating that worry because you're not being present in the moment. What's most likely happening when it comes to anxiety, what you're doing is you're jumping into the future and bringing the future into the present moment and feeling it now. So you're creating a story. And then depression and sadness and worry is often going into the past and bringing the past into the present moment. And so that shuts your body down. So all you got to do is start to notice how you feel going into a conversation. Oh, I feel nervous here. What am I thinking? Right? There's always a corresponding thought to the feeling. Okay. On the positive side, this will be a fun chat. This will be a fun conversation, right? Then you have enough of those conversations, and then you're going to say, for example, well, I'm great at connecting. All right. And then I'm going to enroll those that are a fit. Okay.
This was the big shift for me in December 2018, basically from mid-November to the 30th, to when I finished for Christmas that year, I only got like one client, and that was referral, someone that just wanted to come in. I had sales call after sales call of rejection, of people going, it's not a fit, trying to negotiate me down. And I started dreading the sales calls. I really did. I had a nervousness before the sales calls. It was like I didn't look at my day and enjoy it. And I got back on track after a break at Christmas. I had 2 weeks off, just like I do every year, and came back realizing I need to start viewing this as fun. Because if I'm dreading sales calls, how can I run a business? If I'm dreading rejection or dreading asking people for calls or nervous about it, that's not the right state to go in there. And I set a reminder in my calendar. Sales is fun. Sales is awesome. Sales is meeting fantastic people. And now I actually genuinely enjoy them. People keep saying I should outsource sales, and I do need to do that. That's a battle I need to get past, because now I'm enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? But in order to grow the business, I do need to outsource it. But I've really started enjoying it. And if you can get to this and switch into that state, it's just going to be a massive difference. Otherwise, you feel stiff. Your tonality. We've all been on calls where we felt, and we don't know why, that this person is trying to sell us, or we don't trust this person. Or we've been in a shop and you can feel commission breath. Do you know what I mean? And you just don't feel comfortable. You go, no, I'm just looking. Sales breath, it's called. Sales breath, commission breath. Unless you start enjoying it, people are going to sense that. And they won't even know they sense it, but they do. And they'll say, I need to think about it, you know?
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, the reason why this is called the conscious enrollment formula and not the conscious sales formula is because sales and enrollment, the words have a very different energy for people. And so what you want to do is write down sales and see how that feels to you, and then write down enrollment because it's the same thing, and then see how that feels to you, because you might just want to switch the language up. Right now, for Mark, he might be okay with using sales as that. It's not, sales is not wrong. It's just the language and the energy of the word, because every word has an energy, and that energy then moves into whatever we're doing. And so if you're thinking to yourself, I have to get on a sales call, and you have a negative association to sales, you're better off reframing that to a different word that feels lighter to you, so the energy shifts. Okay. So
same for pitching people in messages on LinkedIn or asking them for a call, because that's a common one. Change the language you associate with it. Yeah. Sorry, go for it.
So how to rewire? How do you rewire yourself? Oh my God, like how do I rewire my brain? I've been doing this for many years now, and there's a few different ways. These are the top three, right? We got our subconscious mind, and I'll come into meditation in a moment. We got daily reminders. I've often told this story about me not brushing my teeth in the evening for many years, which sounds weird to a lot of people, but truth to be told, it was just a bad habit. And so I had to put Post-it notes in the bathroom to remind myself, because it was just a bad habit. So you need to create mental reminders. That's why vision boards work, because it creates a visual trigger for action. Okay. People are like, oh, you know, vision boards are bullshit. Well, no, they work. Why? Because you're going into intention. There's a quantum field of energy, and also it creates a mental opening for movement. Okay. And then we got new actions. This is the most important, right? If you don't take an action, you can't. Courage is the first level of energy that brings you good energy, right? So, but if I just talk to you about courageousness, it doesn't mean anything without you being courageous. So the best way to rewire something is to go into courageous action. When you, for example, if you're not forgiving someone, right, go and reach out and make that phone call or send that message to sit down with them and have a difficult conversation. And then suddenly you change the energy of that, the dynamic between two people, right? That's about being courageous and doing something against what feels unnatural for you, because your mind and ego is creating stories to protect yourself. Okay. So there's rewiring. So where do you focus, right? Best way to focus going into a conversation is client results, right? How many, I use the currency of the words, you changed my life. When someone sends me that message, that shifts my energy, right? It moves me into inspiration and movement. Okay. Also that there's going to be a positive outcome, right? Now, if I've said this story too, but it's totally relevant to sales, which is, before I did improv classes and before I did singing lessons, I would always sit there in fear and not book it, because I was worried about what would happen during the improv classes, which is like comedy, and also the singing lessons. The massive shift that happens is when you start to focus on it going well. What would happen if I left the singing lesson like happy that I sung really well and did my best, instead of focusing on what would go wrong? So if you mentally focus on having a great conversation and leaving the call going, do you know what? I just had a great conversation with that person. They didn't enroll, but I felt like I really served that person. You're going to create a better energy going into the conversation. If you focus on what's going to go wrong because of what happened last, right? The last person, you felt a certain way, and now you think that's going to happen again. Understand that's not going to support you. So it's just like a top athlete, right? They're mentally rehearsing something going well. Okay. So this is really key, which is emotional wave awareness or emotional intelligence awareness, right? Where do you shift during a conversation? Pre-conversation, you're really excited. Oh my God, this is going to be a great conversation. During, you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm in flow. And then what happens is after the conversation, or maybe at the point of you talking about your services, your energy shifts. This is absolutely critical, because a lot of people are really great in conversations. A lot of people do sabotage getting into conversations, by the way. But what happens is there's an energy shift in the transition between talking about the person, which you're great at, a conversation, and then discussing like, oh, money, investment. Why? Because there's that money belief there. Okay. So then what does it need to be, right? Pre-conversation, yes. During, yes. And then post-conversation or during the enrollment part, you're also good and you're confident, you're calm, confident, right? However it's going to go, right? So key. Also, this is probably one of the number one reasons why people struggle, okay? When someone is struggling financially themselves, what they do is they transfer that on to the people that they're coming into contact with, which is they must be going through the same thing as me. They must not have access to any finances. They must this. And so what we do is we take our own energy of where we are at personally, and then we create that transference to someone else, going, they probably wouldn't invest in it because maybe you wouldn't invest in yourself. That's why it's very important in business to be congruent, right? You invest at a high level and then other people will invest at a high level, right? If you're wanting to only invest $1 to have someone invest 1,000, that's not congruent, right? So we need to make sure that we're in alignment with where we want to be. Very, very key. Mark, do you want to share anything on this?
Yeah, there's lots of analogies, there's lots of metaphors, there's lots of stories, and myths and parables, because stories are the way we teach lessons. But they all come down to the idea we attract who we are, and we are a mirror to ourselves, yeah? You can find them all over in different cultures, different walks of life, and ultimately we are a mirror to what we attract. If we don't invest, we're not going to attract people that value, that invest, are prepared to do it, and the sales aren't going to come through. If we don't pay on time when we're paying suppliers, guess what? You're probably going to get people that don't pay on time. If you don't, and the list goes on, if you don't really value what you do, you're probably going to get lots of people that don't value what you do. If you don't follow instructions in a program, you're probably going to get that. I've seen this time and time. I used to think it was crap. It's like, whatever. But I've seen this time and time again. And it really is. And if you think deep down, you've probably all got examples of that. We attract who we are, So just be aware of it. And this is just one example of it.
Everything is at a level of consciousness, and we are at a level of consciousness. And so we need to always, every single day, put ourselves into a space where we're feeling good, and we don't start a day until we feel good. Okay. So Mark's right. Whatever energy you're putting out, you're going to get that back. It's just law of the universe, quantum physics. Okay. So my program rocks. I get great results. I focus on results and I get great testimonials. So do you believe at a deep level that you're worth that you're next level, right? Very, very key. And if the answer is no, what needs to happen to make sure that you do? Some of these questions we just avoid sometimes, and really we've got to really ask the deeper questions so that we can bring up the stuff that really we don't want to deal with, which is critical to our growth. And that's what I do with people, which is go deep. I go deep into the stuff that they don't want to do typically and break through that so that they can create the business and the conscious business and the life that they want so that they're truly fulfilled. I want to talk about this a little bit, which is imposter syndrome. This is very probably one of the biggest reasons why people struggle to have conversations and enroll people. Okay. What is that? Low self-esteem. Okay. Fear of failure, guilt of success, right? Sometimes, the biggest thing that holds people back is fear, but oftentimes it's not failure. If I make all this money, then people won't accept me, right? I'll isolate myself from other people. Also that fear of rejection. It's not necessarily the fear of rejection. It's the feeling that we don't want to feel because of something in the past, right? I don't want to feel, if I post that on social media and someone sees it, I don't want to feel that feeling of them saying, I don't like it. Why? It's nothing to do with the fact that they don't like it. It's that something happened in our past. For example, when I was at school, there was this teacher at school called Mr. Smith, and he shut me down because he was an angry person and I was playful. And he would say to me, wipe that smile off your face, Lovell, and then go and watch the wallpaper fall off the wall. So his own insecurity, his own anger, he didn't like to see somebody that was happily and smiling. So he shut me down. Right. And because I didn't stand up for myself, that affected me in relationships moving forward. Well, all of this plays into business, because if you have a fear of rejection, that comes from some kind of trauma potentially that's been unresolved in our past. Okay. So imposter syndrome is really just a lack of self-worth, right? And a lack of knowing who you truly are at your core. And one of the biggest regrets of the dying, there's a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. one of the top ones is I didn't live a life true to myself, right? When you're true to who you really are, and you're also self-aware and you know who you are at a core level, what happens is you don't get the low self-esteem because you have that confidence, calm confidence, okay? And so you don't live in fear. Fear is just, when you live in fear, you're just living in a certain energy. And the great news is that tomorrow or after this call, you can shift your energy by the things I'm going to teach you to do later in this program today. Cool. So beware. Also, when you have imposter syndrome, you're less likely to ask for help. People who have imposter syndrome, because they're living in fear, are less likely to hold their hands up and say, I need your help, which is actually critical in your marketing. Because when you're posting on social media and you're getting people interact, right? But you know, they're not messaging you because you want them to message you and say, you know, or in LinkedIn to message you and say, help me. Well, a reason for that is because they might live in fear. And so they want you to go grab them, right? They want you to go to say like, hey, do you want to chat? Why? Because they live in fear and they need you to be the one to reach out because they don't have the confidence to yet. Okay, very, very key. So
this is important. Yeah, thanks. Greg is saying the less likely to have his name on it, because I've said in a few calls, and again, I steal stuff from Tony Robbins. What else could this mean when someone doesn't reply to a message, or they don't get back, or they miss a call? What else could this mean? It doesn't necessarily mean they don't need your services. It could mean a whole myriad of different things. Yeah. Sorry, Tom, go for it.
Yeah. So when we are living in our truest self, right? When we've pulled back the layers of our ego, right? And all of the things, the insecurity, for example, I had addictions, you know, drugs and smoking and drinking and gambling. That wasn't, my heart didn't want to gamble. My heart didn't want to drink alcohol. My heart didn't want to, do the other things to sabotage me. It was the fact that I wasn't connected with my heart. And so once we start to pull back those layers and live from our truest self, then we don't have the insecurity. We don't have the lack of confidence. Okay. But that takes work. That takes addressing, deep healing sometimes, and also talking about things which are uncomfortable. So when we've got, for example, external validation, right? And everything external, money, right? I want more money. I want fame. I want material success. Like, you got to look, it's all outside of ourselves. Sometimes it's extrinsic motivators to soothe ourselves because something is unresolved within ourselves, right? And that's imposter syndrome. When we are truly connected with our heart, what happens is then we use, for example, good company, our deeper mission, right? We talk about the pull and the values of a business. That's conscious business. On the left here, this is more conscious business. On the right here, this is more unconscious business. Okay, this is when you'll see, people posting with their supercars and saying, you can make $1 billion, right? All of this is feeding into a lot of people's fears. Okay,
can I just say something on this? We're not saying that you can't go buy cars and money and all that. It's just the reasons for it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
so
the reasons for it.
Let me explain this. So I used to have a Ferrari, but the thing is that I didn't drive it as a track car. It's very different buying a Ferrari because you're a hobbyist and you want to drive that car around a track than having a Ferrari because it's a source of validation because you don't feel good enough inside. So there's nothing wrong with anything. Big home, nice cars, the experiences that we all want to have. It just depends on the reason for that external drive. Okay. So we want to start to go internally to connect with ourselves and then make a better decision based on what we bring into our lives. So absolutely right, Mark, and what Mark just said. Nothing is wrong ever. Right. But if we're continuing to use external validation and trying to overpower people through certain things, that's not healthy. That's an unhealthy driver. And what conscious enrollment and conscious business is about having healthy drive, right? Healthy motivation, healthy, momentum. So we also need to be aware of our self-sabotage, right? Lack of self-care, being around toxic people, living in fear about worrying what people think, unhealthy soothing strategies, overwork. Work for a lot of people can be an addiction, unhealthy addiction. Relationship bailing, entertainment, TV, news, right? Everything like stimulating and taking ourselves away from actually dealing with the true thing that's actually holding us back. Fear of rejection also. So what we need to address is also the root, right? So for me, my addictions were linked to trauma, right? And that also affected my business. So we need to be honest about some of the stuff that we've gone through, right? Sales rejection is a huge trigger to more personal issues, right? And so we got to address those personal things. Mark experienced, this, and he's spoken about this.
Yep.
Also, sometimes we need to shift, guys, the no, which someone says no to, a not yet, right? Because what we do is we get attached. We get attached to, I need the yes. I want the yes. If it's a no, I'm being rejected by this person. And it's just a story that we create. You want to share anything here, Mark?
Yeah, rejection was a huge trigger for me. Now, I don't take anything personally. Simon had it on a slide earlier. Sales or enrollment, whichever language you want to use it. For me, I now see it as an exchange of value. An exchange of value, and I distance myself from it. When I used to see it as a validation as me as a person, or they're rejecting me, yeah, it was not a great situation, and that's stopped me from enjoying it. Now it's just an exchange of value. If someone says no, so be it. There's a quote, I think it's Richard Branson. There's no shortage of business opportunities. There really isn't. There really isn't. There'll be someone who's a better fit that will be along soon, So shift the focus from no to not yet, and that's a big shift, yeah?
And also become aware of your feelings afterwards, okay? Stop and slow down and reframe. So as you're going into conversations moving forward, notice what happens before a call. Notice what happens during a call. Notice what happens if someone, for example, says no, or they give you an objection. Okay. And then you can start to reframe that. So enrollment and meditation, this is absolutely key. So what we need to do is we need to get coherence between the mind and the heart. That's all that meditation is, right? You're connecting with your heart. And so what you're doing is you're grounding yourself and you're slowing yourself down. So for entrepreneurs and business owners, what happens is, especially because we're in the Western world and we've got social media and we've got computers and we're not under a tree in Bali, right? What happens is the mind becomes very overactive. We get up, we check our phones. And so what happens is when you've got that and you've got, money stressors or you've got children stressors, the mind is very active. And then we're spending a lot of the time in our head. And that's where we get a lot of anxiety and stress and depression. So
Sorry, go for it.
Go on.
I was going to say, I'm going to share something on meditation because I've only fairly recently started doing it regularly. I used to think it was something that was religious, that was faith and mysticism. But then, when you look at a list of billionaires and that meditates, if you Google it, Bill Gates, you've got Ray Dalio, you've got Mark Benioff, founder of Salesforce, you've got Ariana Huffington, well, she's sneaked in. You've got Jeff Weiner, who, is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn. Oprah Winfrey. If you think about how much their time is worth and the level of expertise that they've got access to, if we did the calculation of just say they were worth 1 billion, how much 1 hour of their time is worth, yet they find time to meditate. That's what gradually got me around to the idea that there must be something in it, because they know a lot more than me, let's be honest, yeah? They know a lot more than me about business, about self-development, a bit about being in the right state. And for me now, it's just a break. Meditation is a break from the kids, from the chaos, from the business, from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from online. It's just a moment that I really look forward to now. Top level athletes, actors, before I saw it as something I had to do, and I felt a bit woo-woo. And look, whatever, I didn't feel in alignment with doing it. Now I see the benefits, and now I see the people doing it and how much their time is worth. I'm like, wow, yeah, it's worth it. So I just wanted to add that. Go for it, Simon.
Yeah, so when it comes to time and meditation, we also need to understand that in order for the ego to fall away, it takes like 30 minutes or so. And we need to also remember that it's about efficiency and high performance. So the more that you connect with your heart, you're going to be more efficient in the time that you have. If you don't meditate and you don't ground yourself, what will happen is your day will become you will lose efficiency and you'll be stressed out. And so you're losing opportunity and you're losing potential business because you're not in a grounded place and you're making erratic decisions. So understand that your brain goes through different brain waves. Okay. And this is key, especially if you spend a lot of time in front of the computer or you spend a lot of time distracting yourself. We need to put ourselves into different brain states for learning, for, accessing intuition, for flow states, for healing. Every different brain state impacts something differently. So if you only meditate for 3 minutes, okay, what's going to happen is you're not going to reach a certain state for a certain benefit, right? So I meditate, for example, before this call, I meditate for an hour this morning. Why? Because I wanted to get myself into a space where I'm intuitive, I'm on point, I'm able to serve you guys to my best level. And I wanted to do that, right? So, and also I just want to feel good today. So I don't start my day until I feel good. So when it comes to enrollment, meditation slows you down so that you can be in a more positive thought. It helps you to center yourself, to shift negative thoughts, which of course is going to impact sales. Takes you into your heart to help you connect, right? You're going to be in more gratitude that way. And also it shifts your internal energy system. So when you're shifting your energy, then that's going to be transferred into your calls, because people are going to be, this is what people are going to think. They're going to think, oh my God, what is this guy selling? I don't know what he's selling, but just give me some of his energy. That will happen before you pitch your product or service, right? Your energy that you give off is absolutely fundamental. And also it assists with more active listening. Why? Because meditation brings you into the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, you can really hear what someone's saying to you, and you can digest that so that you can relay something back that's going to support them, and also potentially you enrolling them to your program. So there's apps like Calm and Headspace. The one that I also use is called Ananda, which is a really great, and these are beginner ones, by the way. So, you want to start off with a small level, and then, for example, start to build up, in my program, Entrepreneur Evolution, I talk about building up to the power hour, right? And getting up to that hour of meditation, which actually takes a lot of sharpness of mind and discipline, right? One of the biggest things that entrepreneurs struggle with is time management and focus and self-discipline. Well, I tell you now, meditation is going to do that, even if it's not spelled with 2 T's. So what you should do is you want to rate your average stress, anxiety, and fear level, okay, depending on where you're at. Now, if you're low, then you might just do meditation in the morning, right? If it's mid kind of level, then you're probably going to do morning and evening. If you have super high levels of stress, anxiety, and fear, I would prescribe a client 3 times a day, even if you were doing small chunks. Why? Because you're going to get consistently a shift of energy moving through the system. Okay. And if you're a badass, then you can just do 3 sessions a day. And if you're out walking your dog, or you take a little seat on a bench or whatever. But this is time when I'm not feeling centered and in my truest self. I'm taking a moment for me to bring myself back to me. And what I find is that when I go into conversations with people, they're a lot deeper, they're a lot more connected. People feel safe, right? And I'm enrolling those ideal clients because they feel connected with my soul, with my spirit, with who I am as a person, right? And obviously the results that they're going to get to. So I have put together for you guys a 5-minute, it's in the downloadable area, which you guys will get access to. There's a pre-call shift. Okay. And so that's a 5-minute. This is specifically for pre-call. This is not, you should be setting up your day anyway and meditating in the morning, but this is something that I've put together, which is guided, which is going to get you into the connected with the person that you're about to speak to, which is why I made it 5 minutes. But this is not your meditation routine. I would definitely check out Entrepreneur Evolution if you want a whole routine to get your day together. And there's a link in the membership area to that program too. So this is in addition to your own self-care routine, beyond, starting your day when you feel good. You should not start your work day until you're in a space where, I feel good. I feel alive. I feel energized. Then this is a great thing that you can do pre-call.
Can I give an example on this? This is an extreme example, but it kind of demonstrates the impact this has for me. So back when I had this sales slump in that December that I described earlier, I had a sales call literally to take payment. We've had the sales call before. It was all agreed it's going to take payment. I didn't argue with my partner. I don't know whether we didn't have milk or something. I was living in high stress because I was in this sales slump, and went on the call. We, the small talk, and then all of a sudden he's like, I've decided I'm not going to move forward. And I was like, what the heck? What's going on? That client was gone. He must have sensed something. He must have, because I was on edge. I was, we've all had arguments. If you're in a relationship, the reality is you've had an argument. Yeah, let's be honest. And you may not be aware of it, but I come on this call with this horrible aggressive energy. I'm not saying I'm aggressive with my partner, but when you're arguing, you're highly strung. And I'd lost that deal. And I was just like, I need to sort this out. Now, sometimes I can't do this, but that's because I'm on a call with another client or something. But I will make sure that I'm always, always in the right place for a call now. I've had multiple times people have just cut the call with me when I've gone on there in a bad state, when I've gone on there stressed, or when I've gone on there thinking about something else. So if you could just write 5 minutes, even if you're just looking at your testimonials or listening to something that anchors you, by say anchor, that makes you feel good, I can now get myself in a happy state when I go on the call. Yeah, I can do that. Even the this is the crazy thing. Even the Wolf of Wall Street talks about this in his book. Now, that's a totally different industry with a totally different, and I know Jeff Buchholz read this, a totally different approach to sales. It's more of the hard sales. And he uses a totally different language, but nevertheless, he talks about getting in a state for a call. He talks about visualizing. He talks about all that stuff. So I just want to say this is so important. Sorry, Simon, didn't mean to hijack.
No worries. So there's a download in the members area to that audio for you guys, and I'd recommend you start using that. So watch a testimonial or case study, whatever you need to do, put on some music, get yourself into a state pre-call. Why? Because it shifts your energy. So also understand your value, okay? It's time for you to understand the true impact of what you do, okay? And as long as you continue to think that you're selling time, you may continue to struggle. Remember, it's about the transformational outcome that you're selling. When you enroll people, it's about enrolling them based on the results, not the time that you're spending with them. Okay. So write down at least 10 outcomes that your clients get from working with you, right? Do that. And what you want to start to do is build up your self-confidence to what you do. Okay. Sometimes it's easy to forget, especially when we get into a sales slump. We want to do is start to remind ourselves about everything that the client has been able to do because of the work that we've been doing with them, right? So if you help someone with their confidence, for example, then they're going to be healthier, right? Maybe helping them with their confidence is going to enable them to change their career. And now they've got a new job, which has got an increased salary, right? Increasing someone's confidence, maybe they're going to get into a new relationship and then have children, right? Maybe they're going to, start to be more fulfilled, right? You can't really put a price on that. But if you're comparing yourself based on how much someone charges per hour, then you may find yourself struggling.
And I'm just going to add something to that. Even in a business-to-business offer, if you are selling to a small business owner or even someone in corporate, they are still experiencing the same things. They're dealing with a boss maybe they don't like. They're going home with the stress on. They get an email from the manager in the States at 3 a.m. that they wake up to. If you can help them make that shift, there's a whole cascade of benefits for them. So don't just think about the time. Don't just think about the leads. That makes sense? Cool. If you're selling leads. Yeah.
So one of the important things to understand is the perception of value. Everybody has a different perception of value based on where they are consciously in the stage of their business. Okay. So for example, if someone's in red in consciousness, right, they might think, and you took them on, they might think well, this is a ripoff and a scam because of certain associations, right? Other people, if you've been in business for a while, for me, I can just take one idea and run with it and build a 6 or 7 figure business. And I'm going to think that was a great investment. For some people, they'll go through the whole program, not taking any action, and then blame you. Why? Because they're living in a victim mentality. So if you, on a call, you know that it's not a right fit, and you take on someone who's in a victim mentality, don't be surprised if they go through your program, they take all the information, they ask for a refund, and then shout about you on social media negatively. Okay, that's the impact of taking on the wrong clients, because they're at a certain level of consciousness, or all it takes for them to have a bad day, and then what some people do is they have a bad day, and then, there's that quote, hurt people. So they'll take it out on someone else to feel better. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with humans, right? That's why myself and Mark, and I'm sure many of you watching this training, you continue to evolve yourself to be a better human being, right? To be the best that you can be. Understand not everyone's in that mindset. So if you line up 100 people, Some people are going to think it's low value. Some people are going to think it's a great investment. You're dealing with consciousness, stage of business, level of awareness. Okay.
I mean, sorry, go for it.
I really wanted to share that because some of you guys get really hard on yourselves for some things that have happened, and it's not your fault. Yes, we need to all take responsibility. Yes, we all need to develop the best program that we can and put all of our love, care, and attention into that. However, other people also need to take responsibility too. And that's why sometimes we've got to lovingly call people out in a way that actually supports their own growth and hold healthy boundaries.
Yeah, we'll go into this later in the program, but it's very rare these days that someone comes on a call that hasn't experienced another program or hasn't experienced another mentor or hasn't experienced another coach. Now, I'll never criticize and I'll never ask them to name them, but I will ask them what didn't work for them. And this is one of the litmus tests for whether I'll proceed with the call. If someone is completely scathing and personally vindictive and offloads all the blame away from themselves onto this program, that's usually
a massive red flag.
And I won't move forward. That's just an example of something we're doing. My community means everything to me. You've all been on the calls. Like, if I have one bad apple in the program, it's an issue for me. It's an issue for everyone. And that's just one of the things that I will look for. And this is kind of one of the ways you can measure this. Where is this person? What's their attitude? What's their likelihood of coming in and being someone that I want to see every day in the group? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Very, very key. So, for example, when someone's at a different level, they may run with a simple idea. The client lives in gratitude, and they understand also the rule of delayed growth. What is the rule of delayed growth? The rule of delayed growth is when you educate yourself and you gather information, but the information cannot be actioned because there's some kind of sabotage or some kind of block holding them back. Okay, so delayed growth, what happens is sometimes you invest in something, but the return comes later because you were not ready as an individual to action it yet. Okay, this is absolutely key because what sometimes people do is they blame themselves, but understand that what will happen to the client later on if they decide to grow is that investment will bring its fruits, and it will be well worth the investment. And I know because I've experienced this myself. I've worked with thousands of people, and I know that people log into programs a year after they've invested in them. Why? Because something was going on in their relationship, something was going on in their personal life. They didn't want to tell you. They came onto the calls. They didn't want to speak up, and they lived in fear, but they didn't have the courage to open up about it. That's just reality in dealing with people. So there's that. So understand your value. Your impact is not the time, it's the transformational outcome. Okay. Also, don't forget, the investments that you've made in yourself, your own experience and your process and your system. It's valuable. Okay. What you have to offer. I've invested over $250,000 in my own personal growth, not even business investments. That's just personal growth, working on myself and programs and just working with people at the top level to know what I know now. Why? Because I wanted to be the best version of myself, not just make a lot of money and help a lot of people, but I also wanted to be the best version of me. And so that's taken a big investment for me. So this is a Tony Robbins thing, but also understand when you go into a conversation, your physiology, how you're holding your body. If you're rounded over, like right now I'm stood up, there's a reason why I stood up for this training and I have a standing desk. Also the language that you speak, just notice the subtleties in what you're saying to yourself. And also, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on something go wrong? Or are you focusing on something that's going to go right? Right? When you're always focused on the negative because you're not managing your energy in the morning and you're not meditating and you're not putting yourself in a good place, your focus is going to shift, your physiology will change, and also the language and what you're saying. Why? Because when you meditate, it shifts your thoughts. And that affects your physiology and your focus. Okay, so grounding yourself is a fundamental must. So, how do you get out of a sales slump? Right. Remember that enrolling is about managing your emotions. Okay, how you manage yourself is how you manage your income, and how fast you get yourself back is critical to your success. Right. Sometimes, one strategy I'll use if I'm in a funk, just on a day, just life happens and I get in a funk. Sometimes I'll meditate. Sometimes I'll take my puppy for a walk. Other times I'll nap for 20 minutes using the Ananda app. Why? Because it's a mental reset, right? when you nap, what you do is you shift all your thought patterns, you shift your internal energy system. And then when you wake up after 20 minutes, you feel like it's a new day. So napping is one of my little secrets to actually a complete reset, spiritually and emotionally, which, and it's funny because I used to make napping wrong because I said to myself that it was lazy, but until I realized and I understood the power of napping. Now, for example, if I'm really tired and I've got up at 5 and done yoga at 6 and I'm tired in the afternoon, I've got no problem with having a nap at say 4 o'clock so that I can go and make my workout session in the evening, or if I'm going into a conversation, because I don't want to be tired in those conversations. So you can get your momentum back, record your conversations and then analyze them. All right. Record videos after your sales. Oh my God. Like, I'm so happy right now. I had a great conversation. Like, record yourself, record your energy on how you feel and play that back, to yourself. Okay. Also take responsibility. If you find yourself blaming a lot, you got to start to go internally and say, what do I need to do to improve? Okay. Ask the question, what could I have done better? That's a powerful question that you can ask yourself. And also think long-term. Sometimes we don't get what we want straight away and we get so attached. Sometimes we've got to let go and just know that the universe is going to take care of it and that person will come back. If you did a great job, if you connect with someone properly, deeply, and they know your heart, okay, when the time is right for them, you will be front of mind. Why? Because you cared. That's what's most important. And remember, you should not sign people up who are not a fit. Why? Because they're going to energetically drain you. And when you have an energetic drain in your business, that can completely, first of all, if you have an energetic drain in your business, they take up energy space. And so you need to get them out so that you can bring someone into the energy space that fits. All right. Also, you shouldn't sign people up who are not a fit. Also, because of the potential negative consequences that can happen from that. And so you trust your gut. Your gut knows but you will only have access to your gut if you have grounded yourself, because you can't feel your gut and you can't feel your knowing unless you have mind and heart coherence, which is the meditation. Every second spent in stress and beating yourself up is away from generating a lead and more business. And catch the story that you're telling yourself directly after you get a no and reframe your rejection. Okay. Double your dosage of self-care after a string of no's, which is really key. Because you continue to beat yourself up a bit more once you've got a string of people that haven't enrolled, because you go into a story about you, not something else, right? So you start to blame yourself. And do not blame the prospect for a no sale, because you won't be able to grow. When you go externally and blame externally, there's no growth for you there. It's just a way to avoid. It's an avoidance strategy. Okay. I just wanted to touch on pricing also for some of you, because I know that this will just be huge for you moving forward in the program if you just take this advice. Check in on your value first, okay? Focus on results. And if you don't have results right now, do some work and get testimonials and get videos until you do, okay? Increase investment in 25% jumps when you are feeling confident. Now, the program needs to be worth it, but once you start to boost your confidence and you're grounded, take that opportunity and increase the investment in 25% increments. Okay. That's worked historically with the people that I've worked with. And then ask this question: what specifically needs to happen for you to double your investment? I need to what? What needs to happen potentially for you to double your investment? Do I need to add more to the program? Do I need to just need to speak it? One of the strategies that I've told people for a long time, which is, Simon, how do I double my revenue? Well, you say double your investment, but if that doesn't come out of your mouth, you'll never be paid double. Okay. So just understand that if you're willing to say it, you will be willing to receive it. Okay. And also, do you have an offer of double/triple your current investment? Start to build an impact changing offer for new people. Maybe it's $10,000. Maybe it's $25,000. Maybe it's $100,000. How does that feel? How would it feel to put together an offer of that level to double or triple what you're currently doing? Okay. Start to feel into that. Before you offer it, feel into what it would be like to say it. Say it before you offer it and feel the feeling of saying $10,000 if you've only offered a $5,000 or $2,000 offer. Get into that space energetically before it happens. Okay. Again, law of attraction, quantum field energy, and then you'll probably start to find that opportunities come your way. But if you don't design a $25,000 offer, you will never be paid $25,000. Okay. would you like to charge? Also, what feels right to you? Remember, I said that this program is adaptable, right? Ultimately, guys, you got to do what feels right. And I can tell you now, if you don't feel congruent with your price point in the offer that you make, you probably won't offer it, or you'll sabotage it. Okay, so it's got to feel right to you. And that's why you want to do the exercise, to say it, to live it, to feel it before it's happened. Okay, because you want to see, how does this feel to me? And we're going to have a conscious impact challenge. And so there's a little button here in the membership area, and you can
all get access to.
Yeah, there's a little challenge button. And every time you enroll a new client, we want you to fill in that little form. And what we're going to do, we have a runners-up prize of these new earpods, which I've got in at the moment, the new Apple ones. And the first prize that we're going to do during the 6-week period is we're going to give you a free month into the Conscious Impact Mastermind, which is myself and Mark's mastermind. Group trainings with heart-centered entrepreneurs, behind the scenes on what's working now in all areas of our business, purpose-driven impact, and also focused on personal growth and conscious business growth for optimum fulfillment. So we want you guys to, over the course of the next 6 weeks, and in the next training, we're going to be covering the actual process. As you're moving forward, as you're taking these new tools into your business, we want to know about the clients that you're enrolling, and also set you guys a little bit of a challenge to actually move forward and do your very best to create the impact that you want to. And just finishing up, always beware of the window of opportunity. What do I mean by this? On this training, I've hopefully created an energy for you. Hopefully you're now inspired. Hopefully now, through this conversation, you're feeling different. Well, just notice that there's a window of opportunity, of energy, that opens all the time throughout the day. If you don't take those windows to go post on social media and have those conversations, maybe now you're feeling inspired to reach out to a few clients that you've not interacted with for a while. You always notice the window of opportunity. This is one of my main trainings. It's so simple, but it's really effective, because here's the truth. If you don't take the windows of energy and opportunity that open throughout your day naturally, what you'll have to do is develop them for yourself. Okay, so when you come out of a movie and you watch a great movie, it's like, oh my God, that was awesome. I feel good, right? Your energy shifts. Go do a post on social media, right? When you get that inspiration and you see something and you say, well, that inspired me, that's the window of opportunity to go, to move, to take action, right? So hopefully today I've created a window for you. What are you going to do after this training? What momentum are you going to get into that's going to support not just you, but more importantly, the people that you want to impact? And also grab this book, Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. Start a consistent meditation routine. Start using your 5-minute shift audio, and also read this book. And also grab Entrepreneur Evolution if you want to do a deep dive into evolving yourself as an entrepreneur. So, Mark, you want to add anything here?
No, I don't. You've covered most of it. I was going to say, do we want to go into questions? Because I've got a few questions here. And if you have any,
one sec, yeah,
post them into the app.